What if everything Europeans were warned about America collapsed the moment they arrived? Why did so many return home praising the very country they had been taught to fear? Somewhere between the open roads, unexpected kindness, and a culture that made strangers feel welcome, America changed from a headline into a memory they could not shake. These 5 reasons explain why their final words were not criticism, but a heartfelt thank you. America was misjudged for years. Many Europeans met America long before they ever stepped onto American soil. They met it through news alerts, political arguments, crime reports, viral clips, and television panels where every problem seemed to arrive wearing a flashing red banner. From thousands of miles away, the United States could look like a country permanently 5 minutes from disaster, where every street corner came with a warning label and every family argument somehow became international news. Then the World Cup brought people here, and reality quietly ruined the script. What they found was a country where strangers offered directions before being asked, families invited overseas fans into parking lot cookouts, and restaurant workers spoke to newcomers as though they had been regular customers for years. The America on television had always seemed angry. The America standing in front of them was holding the door, asking where they came from, and recommending a barbecue place with the seriousness of a Supreme Court nomination.
What's the thing that surprised you most about America?
The food, it's very nice, and all these people are so nice.
Times Square is looking a bit different. The Argentinians over there.
That contrast matters because European social habits can be much more reserved. In cities such as Stockholm, Helsinki, or Berlin, giving strangers space is often considered respectful. People usually avoid unnecessary conversation on public transport, and a random compliment from someone on the street may require several minutes of private analysis afterward. In many American cities, however, silence is treated almost like an empty chair at Thanksgiving. Someone will eventually fill it. During the World Cup, this openness became impossible to ignore. Visitors arrived expecting to navigate a tense and divided nation, yet ordinary Americans kept turning routine moments into personal ones. A cashier noticed an accent and asked about the match. A family at a tailgate offered food. Someone in a stadium line shared local advice, then added 3 restaurant suggestions and possibly the name of a cousin who could help with parking.
We're going to Dallas! We're going to Dallas!
You heard it, the Socceroos are going to Dallas, with other fans here going to join them.
This friendliness can look casual, but it carries real emotional weight. Being welcomed by people who owe you nothing changes how a place feels. A foreign country stops behaving like unfamiliar territory and begins to feel strangely livable. After several weeks, the greeting from a store clerk no longer seems unusually cheerful. The giant iced drink no longer looks like emergency flood control. Even the endless small talk starts feeling comforting, rather than suspicious. That is where the homesickness begins in reverse. Visitors return to London, Paris, Copenhagen, or Brussels and suddenly notice what has disappeared. Nobody asks where they are from because everyone already knows. The supermarket visit becomes quiet again. A stranger's smile no longer develops into a conversation about college football, road trips, or which state makes the best ribs. Home remains familiar and deeply loved, but America has left behind a new craving: the feeling of being welcomed into everyday life without needing an introduction. The most surprising lesson was not that American media coverage had been entirely false. America has real problems, just as Europe does. The lesson was that a country cannot be understood through its worst headlines any more than a family can be understood through its loudest argument. World Cup visitors did not fall in love with a perfect America. They fell in love with the America that rarely makes international news: generous, funny, talkative, proud, and wonderfully eager to make a stranger feel included. That is why many returned home saying thank you, while quietly wondering how soon they could come back. Convenience becomes addictive. The second reason Europeans thanked America was less emotional at first glance, yet far more dangerous once it became part of daily life. The country makes ordinary errands feel almost suspiciously easy. A visitor may begin the week laughing at drive-through pharmacies, enormous parking lots, stores open late, and supermarkets selling everything from birthday cakes to windshield wipers. 2 weeks later, that same person is sitting in a car at 9:30 p.m., collecting medicine without leaving the driver's seat and wondering why this has not already become standard practice everywhere. That is how American convenience works. It rarely arrives wearing a tuxedo. It shows up in sweatpants, solves 3 problems before dinner, and quietly ruins your patience for inconvenience forever.
All right, number 5, convenience. America is the most convenient country in the entire world. The way that I can get things so fast here, whether it's delivery, food delivery, Amazon delivery, like supermarket delivery.
If you think you know convenience, you've never been to an American suburb, let me tell you about it. My name is Zach. I'm traveling to the UK for 3 months, and I'm also just explaining just different cultural differences. And one of the things that's very interesting about the UK is that we take convenience very seriously in the US, and it's very different. Like, we have Amazon, which I know you guys have as well, and I believe you guys have Prime too. I don't actually know. We haven't really explored that much, but
The physical layout of the country explains part of it. The United States covers nearly 9.8 million square kilometers, while Germany is roughly 358,000 square kilometers, and the United Kingdom about 244,000. American towns and suburbs were built around longer distances, larger retail spaces, and widespread car ownership, so businesses learned to serve people who might be driving 20 minutes just to buy groceries. When a customer has already crossed half a county, the store cannot casually announce that batteries are available elsewhere. This produces the classic American superstore, where groceries, clothing, electronics, medicine, toys, gardening supplies, and enough barbecue equipment to feed an SEC tailgate all live under one roof. A European visitor who enters for shampoo can emerge with shampoo, frozen pizza, a folding chair, cough drops, and a decorative wooden sign that says, "Bless this mess." Nobody planned the last purchase, including the store. The contrast becomes clear in cities such as Paris, Barcelona, or Amsterdam, where shopping is often spread among smaller neighborhood businesses. That model has its own charm. A bakery handles bread, a pharmacy handles medicine, and a produce shop knows exactly which tomatoes are worth buying. Daily life feels local, walkable, and personal. America answers a different question. How much of your day can we give back to you? That question sits behind curbside pickup, 24-hour diners, drive-through coffee, free parking beside large stores, and pharmacies located inside supermarkets. The appeal is not laziness, it is control. Parents managing children, workers finishing late shifts, travelers moving between cities, and families living far from downtown can still complete basic tasks without rebuilding the entire day around store hours.
So Americans have perfected conveniences that my British lazy soul just cannot live without. First, Americans do drive through everything. Drive through coffee huts, drive through ATMs, apparently drive through pharmacies. Someone in the comments told me about drive through pharmacies.
Even opening hours reveal the cultural difference. In Germany, most retail stores remain closed on Sundays because of long-standing laws protecting a shared day of rest. Americans tend to protect choice instead, allowing people to shop when their own schedules permit. One system preserves collective quiet, the other gives individuals more flexibility. Visitors often respect the European model right up until they need cold medicine on Sunday evening. Convenience becomes addictive because it reduces tiny frustrations people normally accept without question. The parking space is close. The restroom is available, the ice is free, the return policy does not require a courtroom defense. Each detail feels minor, yet together they create a strange sense that daily life is cooperating with you. After returning home, that cooperation is what many people miss. They are not dreaming about fluorescent supermarket lights or asphalt parking lots. They miss the feeling that a complicated day could still be rescued at 10 p.m. by one brightly lit building beside the highway. America did not merely sell them convenience, it gave them time, and once people realize how valuable that feels, they become very reluctant to give it back. America Makes Fans Family, the third reason Europeans began thanking America, appeared several hours before the match even started, in a place that many of them had never considered part of a sporting event, the parking lot. Across Europe, football culture usually gathers around city centers, train stations, pubs, and streets surrounding the stadium. In Dortmund, Liverpool, Naples, or Marseille, supporters move toward the ground through neighborhoods already shaped by generations of football history. The atmosphere builds while people walk, sing, and squeeze into crowded public transport. It is intense, familiar, and deeply connected to the city. America takes that same anticipation, gives it 4 parking spaces, unfolds a grill, and asks whether anyone wants another burger.
Here's our tip for today. It's going to be a hot day, so we decided not to grill. So when you're tailgating, you want quick grab-and-go foods.
It's the biggest game that UH has had in years, and here we are at the tailgate. This is the Dean's Tailgate. They got free burgers.
For visitors arriving during the 2026 World Cup, tailgating can look wonderfully excessive at first. A football match is still hours away, yet someone has already erected a canopy, connected a television, arranged folding chairs, filled several coolers, and begun cooking enough meat to concern a small county health department. The parking lot stops behaving like storage for cars and turns into a temporary neighborhood where nobody seems entirely sure who invited whom. That looseness is exactly why it becomes so addictive. American sports culture often treats the event as something larger than the 90 minutes on the field. The day belongs to families, friends, former classmates, co-workers, and strangers wearing the correct colors. College football made this ritual enormous long before the World Cup arrived. Michigan Stadium holds more than 107,000 spectators, while Penn State's Beaver Stadium holds more than 106,000. On game days, the communities surrounding those venues swell into cities built almost entirely from team loyalty, grilled food, and folding tables that have seen things they will never discuss. European supporters are certainly no strangers to passion, but the social structure is different. In England, alcohol cannot be consumed within sight of the pitch at professional matches, and many stadium experiences are organized around tightly controlled entrances, assigned seating, and movement through dense urban areas. In the United States, large suburban stadium sites create room for fans to arrive early and build their own celebration outside. One culture compresses excitement into streets and pubs, the other lets it spread across acres of asphalt. For overseas visitors, the most memorable detail is how easily they are absorbed into the gathering. They may arrive knowing nobody, yet the jersey becomes an introduction. A plate appears. Someone explains the rules of cornhole with the solemn patience of a constitutional lawyer. Another person insists that the visitor try a homemade dip whose recipe has apparently remained classified since the Reagan administration. This is more than hospitality because the tailgate gives people permission to participate rather than merely observe. Tourists are no longer standing outside American culture, taking photographs of it. They are holding paper plates, defending a team they discovered yesterday, and nodding seriously during a debate about regional barbecue that has no peaceful resolution. That transformation explains why the experience stays with them. Modern travel often turns visitors into consumers who move from attraction to attraction, collecting images while remaining separate from the life around them. American game day culture closes that distance. It creates a temporary community with a remarkably simple membership rule: show up in good spirits and do not insult the person tending the grill. When Europeans returned home, they remembered the match, but many also missed everything surrounding it. They missed the long build-up, the open invitations, and the feeling that an ordinary parking lot could become the happiest address in the city for one afternoon. America taught them that sport does not begin at kickoff. It begins when the first cooler opens, the grill starts smoking, and complete strangers decide there is still room for one more person. America feels endless. The fourth reason Europeans found themselves thanking America had nothing to do with service, shopping, or game day hospitality. It arrived through the windshield, usually after someone had already asked, with complete confidence, whether the destination was pretty close. In America, that phrase can describe a drive long enough to cross Belgium, stop for lunch, and still have time to reconsider your life choices at a gas station somewhere in Tennessee. The United States covers roughly 8 million square miles, while Belgium occupies about 11,800 square miles, and the Netherlands around 16,000. That difference is difficult to understand from a map because maps behave politely. They shrink Texas until it fits beside France, remove the heat from Arizona, and never mention that a short drive across one American state may require 2 meals, several podcasts, and a serious relationship with the cup holder. Yet the size itself is only the surface. What becomes addictive is the feeling that there is always more country waiting beyond the next exit. Many European cities are beautifully compact. In Amsterdam, daily life can unfold within a few bicycle-friendly kilometers. Paris places cafes, apartments, shops, and metro stations close enough that an entire afternoon can happen without anyone needing a parking space the size of Luxembourg. London's rail network moves millions of people through a dense urban maze where distance is measured in stations rather than open road. America offers a different pleasure. It lets the horizon breathe. A highway leaving Denver can place the Rocky Mountains across the windshield like someone has installed an IMAX screen behind the traffic lights. Roads through Kansas appear to continue until they reach a private agreement with the sky. In Utah, cliffs rise beside the asphalt in colors that would look excessive on a movie set, yet America simply leaves them there without charging admission at every turn. The interstate highway system stretches for nearly 49,000 miles, connecting regions so different that a single journey can move through forests, farmland, desert, mountains, and and cities whose food traditions argue with one another across state lines. That network gives people something many visitors do not expect from modern travel: freedom without a fixed script. European travel often comes with magnificent structure. Trains arrive in historic centers, routes are clearly defined, and an hour can carry passengers from Brussels to Paris or from London to another major city. American travel feels looser. The road invites detours, and those detours can lead to a family diner, a tiny town festival, a roadside attraction shaped like an animal, or a scenic overlook that was never mentioned in the original plan. That openness changes a person's mood. When the land appears endless, tomorrow feels less crowded. Perhaps that is why road trips occupy such a special place in American culture. They are not simply transportation between 2 points. They offer a temporary escape from schedules, labels, and familiar surroundings. Someone can leave Atlanta in the morning, cross several state lines, and arrive somewhere that serves tea differently, pronounces words differently, and believes its barbecue sauce has achieved moral superiority. For visitors, this variety makes America feel like several countries sharing one flag. New England does not resemble the Southwest, Louisiana refuses to behave like Minnesota, and California can change personalities several times before lunch. The surprise is not merely that America is large. The surprise is how many distinct versions of America fit inside that size. After returning to Europe, people often appreciate their own compact cities even more. They can walk to dinner, take reliable trains, and cross borders without losing an entire day. Still, a certain restlessness remains. They miss seeing the landscape open up. They miss exits leading to places they had never heard of, and the wonderfully American belief that driving 4 hours for lunch can sound completely reasonable if the barbecue is good enough. America gave them room to wander without feeling lost, and that freedom can become difficult to forget. Once someone has watched a sunset stretch across a highway wider than the neighborhood where they grew up, the familiar world may feel a little smaller than it did before. Dreams get loud. The fifth reason Europeans return home thanking America was neither something they could photograph, nor something that fitted neatly into a suitcase. It was the strangely liberating experience of living among people who were not embarrassed to admit that they wanted more from life. In many parts of Europe, ambition is often wrapped in modest language. Someone in Copenhagen, Vienna, or Brussels may have an excellent idea, yet describe it as a little project until it becomes successful enough to require an accountant. Confidence is admired, but displaying too much of it can invite teasing. The safest social posture is often to remain capable, understated, and careful not to behave as though a movie soundtrack has begun playing behind you. America has a different relationship with possibility. Here, a person can announce plans to open a barbecue restaurant, launch an app, return to college at 40, or move across 3 states for a new career, and the first response is often enthusiastic encouragement. The practical questions eventually arrive, but Americans usually let the dream sit at the table before asking to see its credit score. That attitude is visible in the country's business culture. According to the U.S. Small Business Administration, America had roughly 34.8 million small businesses in 2024, accounting for almost half of private sector employment. Those figures reveal more than economic activity. They show how deeply the idea of creating something has entered everyday American life. The person serving coffee may also be developing a clothing brand. The mechanic may be saving for his own shop. Someone selling smoked brisket from a trailer is already speaking about location number 2, even though location number 1 currently shares a parking lot with a tire store. From a European perspective, this confidence can initially seem almost theatrical. In Paris or Milan, expertise is often connected to formal training, long apprenticeships, and institutions that have guarded their standards for generations. America respects credentials too, yet it also has a soft spot for the self-taught person who watched 12 tutorials, borrowed a truck, and decided Monday would be an excellent day to become an entrepreneur. Some ventures fail, of course, and optimism does not magically pay rent. What visitors find refreshing is the absence of shame around trying. Starting again is treated as evidence of movement rather than proof that the previous chapter was wasted. A career change does not require an elaborate apology, and being a beginner after 30 is not considered a civic emergency. That freedom becomes addictive because it changes the way people speak about themselves. After several weeks in America, visitors may notice that their sentences sound different. "I have always wanted to" begins turning into "I might actually do it." The change is small enough to miss in the moment, yet powerful enough to follow them home. American encouragement can occasionally be wonderfully excessive. Mention that you bake decent cookies, and somebody may suggest opening a bakery before the tray has cooled. Tell an American that you enjoy running, and within minutes they may have you registered for a half marathon, wearing a motivational t-shirt and discussing protein with a man named Brad. Beneath the humor sits something deeply generous. Americans often lend confidence before knowing whether a plan will succeed. They understand that belief is not a guarantee, yet sometimes it is the first tool a person needs. This may be the hardest American habit to leave behind. Visitors can return to familiar streets, reliable routines, and people they love, yet still miss the atmosphere of a country that allowed them to speak about the future without lowering their voice. Their final thank you was therefore larger than gratitude for a memorable trip. They were thanking America for reminding them that adulthood does not have to become a waiting room, and that a new beginning can still be treated as exciting rather than irresponsible. Perhaps the most revealing thing about America is that people often understand it only after leaving. Back home, they remember the open roads, easy conversations, fearless ambition, and kindness that no alarming headline could capture. The trip ends, yet America follows them home as a question. What if the country they were warned about was actually the place that made them feel most alive? Share your answer below, and subscribe to join us as we discover the real America together.